about 2 years ago, there were some devastating fires that occurred on the island of Kauai, and we were challenged with a situation where the hillside was burnt to the point where the soil was really light and fluffy. This was prior to the heavy rains coming from winter, and the department had to make a decision, and it went to the governor, explained the possibilities of having tons of soil as well as dead trees end up in the streams and on the near shore waters, damaging the coral reefs. And as such, the governor recognized the severity of the situation and consented to an emergency proclamation, which allowed us the flexibility to try things as we've never tried before, such as the application of mulch with seeds in it from a helicopter. The sort of second and third phase, trying to make use of all the dead trees that are still standing and providing opportunities for public safety concerns. So the project, as it has moved forward, has been an extreme success, and we just thank the island of Kauai and the people for allowing us to be innovative and allowing the governor to make use of the emergency powers that he has to address this very serious situation. We're not through yet. We still have a ways to go, but the forests today, the reefs today on Kauai are in a much better situation because of our actions.
But just to give perspective, we're right here. When we showed up on scene, it's right in this corner right here, which is right where we're standing. And so it's mostly eucalyptus. So this area is mostly eucalyptus, Saligna or grandis plantation. And it's about, this plantation on this ridge alone is about a little over 90 acres, just under 100 acres. Well, we got a lot of dead standing trees. So falling trees would be the biggest hazard. Well, this is part of Hunting Unit A, which is probably the most popular hunting area on the island, public hunting area on the island. And so there's pigs, there's goats at the lower end of the ridges, and there's deer that frequent this area. And so those are the three main game that the hunters go for in this area.
It was a series of fires. It happened May through August of 2012. And it burned on 3 different ridges in the Kokee area on Kauai. So it took a number of deployments from various fire staff around the state, and it ended up burning about 3,000 acres. 1,000 of those acres were in the forest reserve, and that's the area that we're focusing on now in terms of reforestation. They burned so hot and there was so much damage done that we actually had to close the forest reserves. It's a very important hunting area as well as recreation. Then we went in and removed the trees that had fallen over the road and that were very hazardous. We also created some fire buffers on the edges of each of the roads to make sure that if one fell, it wouldn't fall onto the roads. Then we went back in and did an aerial application of grass to make sure that the soil would be fixed in the event the heavy rains would come. We don't have a lot of timber management areas, and basically those are man-made plantations, much of which have a single species. So they require a different level of management than a native forested area. So these forests on Kauai were planted back in the 60s, and it was the assumption that the industry would grow and support the harvest later on, decades later, and that really hasn't happened. So that has led to a lack of management of these trees for a variety of reasons. And when you don't manage plantation forests, the way that they were meant to be managed, they become overgrown, become dense and thick, and ultimately become more of a fire hazard. We are in the process of contracting a logger to come in and do removal of the burnt trees that are standing and or down on the ground, and the plan is to remove those trees and so we can get in there and prepare the site for reforestation. Again, we're going to plant native and non-native trees, and we hope to make the wood available to the public, to artisans, as well as utilize the developing biomass company that's going up on Kauai. So there's going to be disturbance. The logs have to come off the mountain on trucks, and that's going to cause some delays, and it's a slow process, but we feel that it's very important that we manage this disturbance, this hazardous condition, so it will be utilized in a more functional way in the future. This is a post-fire reforestation effort in a nutshell. We're doing this because of the severe fires that happened. Yes, it's timber, so we want to utilize the timber that's there, but we have to remove it in order to reforest. And we hope to reforest in a way that will make it more usable, more accessible in the future. If we don't do anything and we leave it the way it is, it's almost certain that there's going to be another fire, and it will be worse because of the dead trees that are there. Doing nothing is really not an option.